What could be more reprehensible than two old farts? Three old farts featuring Dave and Steven and Greg Shapiro with funny ha-ha.
How you doing?
Hello, everybody. It's just the two of us today. How about that, David?
David's on. David couldn't be. Today's July 4th, but the show will air July 12th. David just felt because we're American that he just couldn't be on the show and bear with the fact that we basically kicked his country's ass and threw him out.
Yeah,
so that was the whole reason.
It's so weird. The July 4th and the Brits, like, do the Brits celebrate July 4th?
They're like, we miss you. So I did get a text from him this morning, and he said, I miss you, and then in parentheses, not. I'm like, thank you very much. That sounds about right for our people.
My son is Dutch American living here in Amsterdam, but he was visiting friends in London, and they were like, let's go see Hamilton on the West End. On the West End. So it's all about yay revolution. And at one point King George comes out and he's like singing his song, like, you say the price of my love's not a price that you're willing to pay. And the audience is like, boo. But my kid is like, that's your king though. That's your
That's right. The madness of King George. I read a book. It's called The Last American Emperor, which is all about King George III. And which is very interesting. He really didn't lose the colonies. It's Parliament that lost the colonies because of what they did. And the taxation, because they were saying, taxation. So we paid back then about 70,000 US a year, or pounds a year, for the British to protect us, which they did, which came out to, according to the book, I want to say $0.25 cent per person. And everybody was okay with that. And then what happened with the colonists started to have complaints about things. They would speak to the representative. The representative would tell Parliament. Parliament wouldn't tell the king, and they would be like, who cares what they say? Where the king was like, King George was like, I really like the colonists. I want to give them whatever. And so it became this love-hate thing. So when people were like, oh, it's King George, it wasn't. It was the Parliament. It was the politics of the day, because he was very astute, very smart, very well-read, and just in his later years became like, talking to butterflies. So I thought that was interesting.
I read it in the economics, which was what I read. I read, I think, a history from Nathaniel Philbrick. So he was talking about, like, you ever wonder why the Brits, like, if they really wanted to, they probably could have crushed this ragtag bunch of barefoot soldiers in the middle of winter. Why didn't they devote a bit more resources? And then the reminder was the economics of it. Like, the colonies, 13 colonies, all very nice, combined, all together, they contributed like 25% of, the money, of goods going across the Caribbean, and the sugar plantations, and I guess mainly sugar. I forget. You can look it up yourself or whatever. What, cotton as well, maybe. Rum. I don't know, but like that was where the money was. So that's why that's why the Navy didn't get involved. Like if the Brits had sent in their Navy, like they could have crushed the rebellion like that. But like, why were they so reluctant to send their Navy? Because their Navy was in Caribbean. That's protecting their investments.
But they were not so much reluctant. It was also because no one told the king, and Parliament made the decision. The people in Parliament kept saying, no, we can do it. Don't worry. And then by the time it got to King George, like 7 to 8 months down the road, it was too late. And he was really the one who said, all right, listen, enough. We're done. It's not worth it. But in the beginning, the colonists had no problem paying, if you will, their 70 or 100,000 pounds a year to Britain to be protected. And they needed the protection. And then all of a sudden, when the parliament started to make more demands, like we want to assent a person, then that was which sounds funny in today's money terms, that sent them over the top. Like, you, instead of me giving you a quarter of a cent, you want a full penny to protect that's crazy talk. So I guess it would be like saying, if they were protecting us today, like, everyone pay us $1 a year. Everyone's like, yeah, okay, we see you're going to protect us. And then it goes from $1 to, I guess, like, now pay me $1,000. And you're like, okay, now we've had enough. So I think that's kind of the mentality. So it was very interesting. The Madness of King George. It's a great book for anybody who's interested. So
wait, is it the Madness of King George, or you said it was the last?
I'm sorry, it's the last American emperor, or last American king, which
so
is
there's a film called The Madness of King George.
That's what I was thinking of, right?
And that's Nathaniel Hawthorne. I was talking about Nathaniel Philbrick, who wrote the book. There are 3 books in total.
Right.
And first of all, it was about George Washington. Next, it was a Benedict Arnold, and the third one was about the Navy. Right. Anyway, I can't remember the names, but you'll.
No worry. But anyway, the last American king. If you're into American history or history at all, or you know how to read because you know how this generation is, then it's a great book to have. So,
but can I pitch another book?
Anything you have a book, you should pitch it. Yeah.
I have a book that I've contributed to, the book about 30 years of Boom Chicago Comedy Theater in Amsterdam. Celebrating 30 years on the planet this week, actually. And today is the official launch when copies go on sale for this book. It's called Boom Chicago Presents 30 Years, the most important 30 years of Dutch history. And it's like an oral history of the little comedy theater that produced Seth Meyers, Jordan Peele, all the creators of Ted Lasso, among others. They'll be visiting this week in Amsterdam to do a bunch of shows. I'll be doing some shows with them. The book is available today on Amazon. You can pre-order. Today is the day when they'll actually start sending copies, and it should be available in bookstores as well.
Very cool. That is awesome. Okay. And you have your own book out as well.
I've got they're on
the Behind the Curtain with the Wizard of Oz.
I know. Don't pay no attention to that, man.
That's right.
And let's see. So I don't have a copy of the Boom Chicago book, but wait, I do have a copy. I always have a copy of this book.
Let's do a close up of this book.
Yeah, man. Pack shot. Very happy with how this book came out in 2020 during the pandemic. But it's anecdotes, cartoons, quiz about how to be Dutch, and it ends with the photo funnies.
Which we've seen some of those, and those are hysterical. The photos are hysterical. Yes, I remember those. I'm gonna have to get that book. I'm gonna have to go on Amazon and go see if it's for sale.
It's also available on Amazon, baby.
In America.
Thanks for joining us for Book Talk.
That's right. Hey, sometimes it's fun to shake up, and just for all your fans, because we know you have some, because they've told me. Greg will be back in September. He's going to take August off and spend time with the family. He's going to be going on a holiday.
Yeah. Last time I did a Biden impression, and just in keeping with the Joe Biden spirit, I'm going to take the month of August. I'm going to take it off. That's what my pappy used to tell me, Joey. Gotta take your vacation when you've earned it.
Joey's 107 years old. He should be going on holiday quite soon. Here's an interesting thing, since it's 4th of July, and we'll talk, I guess, a little bit about politics. There was an article last Saturday in the FT, and Chris Christie, governor from New Jersey, the one that if he ever falls down would kill somebody, finally said what everybody knows, that he said in the article, that if Trump gets elected, all he wants to do is be a dictator.
Trump wants
to be a dictator. Christie's running for president.
So he's like, I'm not second thoughts about this dictator thing. Sounds pretty good.
He says he says Trump wants to be a dictator. And he says if he gets elected, he says he's going to go after everybody who's wronged him now for the second term, and he'll never get rid of them. Yeah.
He's always
but I mean, now he's getting prosecuted for 36 charges on something. I don't know. It's interesting. And then the Western people, the Western countries, like Europe, are now preparing, if Trump becomes second president again,
Second term,
that is the demise, they figure, of the United States, and they figure now that they have to fend for themselves. And I thought that was a shocking article. And I'm talking like everybody in NATO, that's their, because Asia already found out, like Australia, Japan, and Taiwan found out, and Korea found out when Trump was president. He's like, I don't care. So now they're all like, what do we do? So I think that's very interesting. I thought it was just apropos for the 4th of July talk. So.
Yeah. No, my daughter sent me a thing. She was like, I'm going to spend 4th of July watching Hamilton first and then the last episode of Succession so I can see how American democracy is going.
Nice. There's a book I'm currently reading. It's called The World. And she should read that. If the book, it's like, here's the cover. Here, so I'm promoting other people's books. But anyway, this is The World. This is a great book. It's only 1,500 pages long. I'm like 600 pages into it, but it does talk from basically, I want to say about 10,000 BCE up into present day. And it talks about when the world had like 20,000 people, 100,000 people. And it's right now, I think I'm in the 15th century and there's like 340 million people. And it ends with, I think it was, I looked just to see, it ends with Putin, the missile boy and his dad in North Korea, and Trump. So it'll be interesting to see what they have to say about that. So I'm enjoying it. It's a great read. I mean, if you like history, this is a history book, and this guy is like world famous.
Oh yeah, cool. The world. It's like history of like population in the world. I think wasn't there the population bomb and like books, big, but John Malthus, I don't know, right? The philosopher, they taught us about him in high school. Like at some point humanity will reach a limit, and that you think
8 billion were almost there.
We'll run out of resources. Well, I was doing the math in my show because I'm doing a show called Greg Shapiro Saves the Climate, 60 Minutes of Climate Good News. And I talk about, it's not all Pollyanna bullshit. It's mostly like, these technologies exist. Why are we not scaling them up already?
Right.
But I also talk about overpopulation, and fine. So like when my grandpa was born in 1921, and the world population at that point was already like, whoa, 2 billion. And then when I was born 2 generations later, 1968, that was 4 billion. And now that my kids are born just one more generation. Well, actually, a generation and a half. But it's doubled already to 8. It's at 8 billion plus now. So seems like we should have run out of resources already by now.
We're getting there.
The population bomb was predicting like, well, we'll soon be eating our children for protein.
Cool.
It'll be like in the road, and
the Catholics are going to be very happy about that because what's their song? I got 12 kids. I am Catholic.
Body of Christ. No, it's the body of Christina.
But I was just going to say, the body of Sam and Julia, the kids, they're not with us anymore. They were delicious. So it's a different world. It just keeps getting more different. I did like the article you sent from The Guardian that scientists are now realizing that Nikola Tesla actually was the smartest man on the planet.
Right.
And they're now pulling renewable energy out of humidity in the sky. And I thought that was awesome. Finally, like we're going back to the stuff that works.
Yeah. Well, and again, like they kept predicting that we'd run out of food, but agriculture has become so much more efficient and resilient and whatever, like just because the technologies have gained, traction and pace along with the human population. So again, like, can we not keep the free market of ideas or innovation or whatever. So this new one, again, like Stephen, he keeps going to the Tesla thing.
I know, right?
From everyone. And so I read about it in this article. It's from The Guardian, right? So Tesla's idea was that if you use the atmosphere as like a positive anode or whatever at one end of a battery and the earth as the other, then, you could theoretically have energy and capture that.
But he proved that with his big tower, because he said there's just a dark energy and it's free and you can power everything. And then Morgan invested in it. I guess he went away and came back and he said, no, we're not going to do this, because I think Edison said, and I was reading the Tesla book, and the hypothesis is that Edison said to Morgan, hey, this isn't good. You won't make money, and we won't make money either. what are you going to do about that? So he's like, all right, let's pull the tower down. But just think if we did that, where would we be today?
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, the first car, the first whatever, first ever Model T cars were electric engines and not internal combustion, right?
Yep. Yeah, I think so.
Yes. Anyway, so the new technology that has been apparently like, I think the researchers are even like, we were red in the face. Like we said theoretically this would be possible, but then they've actually by now they've proven it. And so what is it? These tiny little capillaries that are what the width of a human hair. But if you can lure water molecules like out of humidity in the air, and you can make them bounce enough around the sides of this little tube, then that creates a tiny electrical current. If you put enough of these together on a wafer, and if you stack enough wafers, then I think they were saying that like if you could stack enough of these wafers together and keep contaminants and stuff out of the air, that's another big challenge. But yeah, theoretically you could get a device the size of like a washing machine and power an entire house.
Or in Tesla's case, the size of like a monument, and it'll power a planet.
Yeah, how about that? Oh, so that's another one where they're talking about space-based solar, right?
I've read about that. Yes.
Sure. And then how do they transmit it? Well, it'd have to be wireless. I have a feeling wires would be inconvenient.
Yes. We have a little cord that runs 93 million miles away and down. Can you imagine the guy's like, listen, at mile marker 57,923.6.
Yes.
Go fix it. I'd be like, go fix it yourself. Good luck with that.
Is advised to avoid the enormous cable at the following coordinates. Yeah.
That's funny.
But so the alternative is microwave energy. So microwave. And apparently it works.
I read it, but there's an article that the FT did, and they did a little video like 3 years ago on it. And I remember they were talking about there was some issues because of, I guess, when it comes down, how it's going to be captured, and it was a whole thing. Maybe with all the new technology and AI now taking over the world, thank God, they have fixed that, which would be kind of cool.
That is apparently part of it. So, I mean, like your Tesla monuments, I think they were saying that there could be 6 pickup stations located in strategic positions around the planet, and that the satellite would then shoot its, because, fine. If you're just now hearing about it for the first time, the atmosphere gets in the way of a lot of solar radiation. There's a lot of radiation outside the atmosphere.
That ozone layer thing that people don't know about. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, if you could put a solar panel, part of the reason solar panels are not as efficient as they're only like the highest ones are 26% efficient. Anyway, but yeah, if you put it up in outer space, like, whoa, there's nothing but solar energy, and then you just have to find a way to beam it. But so yeah, microwaves. Have you ever, those microwave towers that have TV signals or mobile phones or whatever? You know how even you're not supposed to stand in front of them because they'll fry
Toast you. Yeah. So instead, let's take one of the most powerful things that we know in this universe or solar system, and let's beam it down to the planet and see how that goes.
Yeah.
So it sounds like a big Death Star. I saw a movie once how that goes.
Yes. Real Genius, 1986.
Yes, that's right.
It's when the university researchers are, like, whoa, we have a particle beam, and it's like incredibly powerful. And then they realize, who's providing all the funding? Oh, it's actually the military.
That's right, because they wanted to blow up, and they blew up the popcorn at the end.
Thanks for giving away the ending.
Oh, well, spoiler. Listen, if you haven't,
in 1980.
That movie's like 30, 40 years old. If you haven't seen it by now, too bad.
No, in fact, we looked it up the other day. It is available on like Apple TV for $4 or something for a rental. Yeah. But it's worth it. One of Val Kilmer's first movies. God, he was funny in it.
He was.
Yeah, man. It was about how once they realized, then they change all the coordinates. Like they have to sneak in and change it so that they're not going to knock off a world leader, from space, but they're in fact going to set off a chain reaction of popcorn in the professor's house or something.
That was a very funny movie, and I
Oh,
enjoyed
yeah,
it.
it's perfect. Then the story ends on such a perfect note. Yeah, space cable. I gotta write that down too. That's hilarious. But
hey, please feel free to use it. You don't have to give us credit. He was like, I was talking to the two old farts, and they came up with a space cable.
Well, so yeah, last time I think I tried to divide, my green themed findings, stuff worth sharing, into 3 categories: mitigation, adaptation, and decarbonization.
Okay.
Because we need all 3. So again, the goal is to keep the global temperature, average temperature, from raising above 1.5 degrees Celsius. Or basically, can we, as a humanity, for the first time ever, control the thermostat on the planet?
No, because it's already gone past that 1.5. Scientists said we've already passed it.
Yeah. Although
we apparently
the
failed.
Washington Post was just having a piece about how, we have our targets and what would we need to do to get to 2030, to get to 2050. Fine. But they're like, they're if we can somehow turn it around, whatever, 300 gigatons of carbon in 10 years, they're very specific numbers, but have we passed the point of no return? Possible, yes. And certainly, we're talking about the median temperature. That doesn't, that's also the extremes. There's still going to be the extremes, more extreme. So that brings us to adaptation. Like, we're going to need to build breakwaters, to build dikes and pump out water like we do in the Netherlands. But yeah, what else did I have for?
But here's the interesting, with all the ice melting in the Antarctic and all now, they're finding, like the government will never tell us, I guess, all the UFO stuff. It'll be interesting we'll just start taking that technology. So I'll be like, cool, let's just use the technology that's like 1 billion years old and let's save the planet.
Yeah.
So
I mean, again, the planet's going to be fine.
Yeah, we're the ones that are not going to be so fine. Yeah, like we're having some issues. So
let's see. For mitigation, I was going to actually offer the choice architecture: humidity, New Zealand prank, or methane leaks. Oh, well, whatever. Before we get to adaptation, I'll just talk briefly about methane leaks. Huge source of global warming. If Turkmenistan could be convinced to just close up these mines that are leaking methane, like that would, and then in Canada, and then in the US, in Pennsylvania and West Virginia, close up the existing leaks, that would have a huge exponential effect, apparently. Okay, but then can I just briefly tell you about this this protester in New Zealand? She's like, well, I read that there's going to be a conference of fossil fuel executives, and she's like a middle administrator, so she's just figuring out the right letterhead and addresses of the personal assistants of these captains of industry who were going to fly on their private jets to this fossil fuel convention in Dubai or Saudi Arabia or something. So anyway, she just sent them a letter and said, sorry, it's canceled. And they didn't go.
Nice.
So it worked. Now she's facing 10 years in prison.
Oh my God.
Like, would you prefer she glues her head to a painting or shuts down a major highway?
That's fun. Oh yeah, I guess that would be fraud because you put it through. If you put it through the post, if you will, that becomes a government. That's funny.
Anyway, but so moving on to adaptation. This is not exactly an adaptation, but we're talking about different styles of building now. Would you like to talk about the mushroom house? Would you like to talk about the hemp tower? Or would you like to talk about buildings constructed with salt, sunflowers, and human urine?
Well, the one with the human urine, I'm probably not going to go into, but the hemp one sounds interesting. They all sound interesting. I guess we're trying to be more economical and ecological.
I'm trying to think of the little, tuinkabouter, they say in Dutch, the little garden gnome sitting on top of a mushroom. Look at my mushroom house. But so, fungi in general, certain kinds of mushrooms are incredibly resilient. They grow insanely. You turn around and they're double in size.
Oh my God.
Mushrooms, fungus. So you can harvest these guys. You can cultivate them, and people are using mushroom for caskets. Because they're biodegradable. They're using them for furniture. They're using them now for construction as well. And Yeah, so that is Euronews.com.
Cool.
Fungi can slash emissions from construction.
Very nice.
Hempcrete is apparently South Africa, the tallest hempcrete building. Yeah, good old hemp.
Okay.
Hemp is again another one that founding fathers.
Our founding fathers were big into hemp. So, because when I used to hang out with George and his teeth, that's what his whole thing was about the hemp. So we had a good time with that. We had a good time with the hemp.
Not many people know George Washington, the great grandfather of Academy Award winner Denzel Washington.
No kidding. Who knew?
No, I can't prove that, but I mean, I got a good feeling.
If here's how you have to look at it. Now that you've said it on the internet, it's true.
Yeah.
Denzel, we're very proud that you're the great grandson of George Washington. So happy birthday to our country, and thanks, Denzel, for helping us out. And all your movies, I think you've saved the country many times. So
that is true, yeah. And then again,
so,
had revenge porn films like The Equalizer, but also good.
Good stuff.
Salt, sunflowers, and urine. This is from The Guardian. They were talking about the ultimate eco building with recycled urine as well. Again, like the UK has enough problems with their human excrement. They're flushing out turds into the water and saying, "Oh, by the way, it's probably not safe to swim."
Yeah, so basically, it's like the Hudson in New York.
Right? Yeah.
But there we fish out bodies. There's a reason that there's species in that. So there's a whole different thing there.
Are you gonna
do anything fun for your holiday? Are you about to do anything fun for your month off, your holiday? Are you touring? Are people going to be able to see you somewhere?
Some time off. I'm planning. Yeah, no, I'm going to get to. We have to talk about decarbonization next. I haven't forgotten. But
we have 2 minutes to do that. So let's do decarbonization and where you're going to be if you're going to tour.
So wait, what do you think? Because I'm asking you about this, the economic aspect as well.
Sure.
There's something called CCS, carbon capture and storage, but now it seems like they're talking about CCU, so carbon capture and utilization, right? So one of these last episode we were talking about the giant vacuum cleaners for the sky.
I remember that.
To get in on the finished product would be these carbon particles. I think the first one that went online in Iceland now has produced a sizable amount of these cylinders of solid carbon, and now they're realizing there's a market for it as well. You could use it for the carbon fibers for submarines to explore the depths of the Atlantic.
Yeah, the submarines maybe made out of titanium and not carbon fiber, but that's a whole nother show. So and supercars are made out of carbon fiber. I'm okay with my supercar.
They're saying that if there's a resale value of the carbon that they're filtering out of the atmosphere, and there's gigatons of it in the atmosphere. Like if you find a way to repurpose and scale up and whatever, but and then at some point they're saying that the economics of this technology, they kind of start to look like not pie in the sky, but actually it might come close to at least a lot of carbon capture techniques could not just sky vacuums, but from power plants or whatever,
if there's a dollar to be made, they'll make it.
Yeah.
If I'm a supercar company, I would look into the technology, because that means carbon fiber for me then in theory should be cheaper, which means I can still charge stupid money for my car and make more money.
Yeah.
So, and I would rather have carbon fiber be in supercars or cars than I would ships, planes, and whatever things that cars are different. They're on the ground. So we proved, I just think now with the sub that imploded, that carbon fiber is probably not something you want to use. So for certain things.
Yeah, for such
not for something
maybe outer space also, maybe skip that. But you're right, you're talking about how Edison teamed up with JP Morgan?
Yeah, JP Morgan.
To nix the Tesla tower. Well, maybe if this, I'm thinking about what technologies now could be saving us on the climate and are being, squelched by, or capture and kill. What do they call it? I think
probably a lot. I think
Oh,
probably a
sure.
lot.
But I mean, what if indeed they start realizing, like, oh, wait a minute, we could make, at least some money, maybe eventually, just as much.
Yeah, I
Um,
hope
that's what I'm
that would
hoping
be.
for.
That's a nice thought. So, my friend, unfortunately, we're going to be cutting off in a few seconds,
I
only
just want to
because
end
we
on
have
a
another.
positive note.
I know, right? I like it. We have to do another. Not you and I, but I have to go have another. We have to do another show. But before we go, have a wonderful holiday. Now, are you going to be performing anywhere in August that people should come see you?
August, not really, actually. I think I've got
Okay.
a couple of like corporate speaking things, and then in September I'll start up again.
Very cool. Well, we will be back in September with Greg and Funny Haha. And David will be back because the revolution will be over. And to everybody, thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. And please leave your comments below. And Greg, I'll see you after the exit, which you know how that goes. Bye,
Yes.
everybody. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Cheers.